A headline in Newsmax reads, Obama task force member says police extremely combative. That comment came from task force member Constance Rice. She was responding to Fraternal Order of Police President Chuck Canterbury, who told the task force that the media and public figures often rush to judgment against officers involved in fatal shootings rather than respecting due process. Up next, we'll hear that discussion as this event on community policing continues.
And we now have our law enforcement panel, and I'm glad to welcome all of our witnesses here this morning. And we're going to start with Richard Beary, president of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. Chief Beary.
Thank you, Professor Robinson. Mr. Davis, Commissioner Ramsey, members of the task force, thank you for inviting me to testify today. My name is Richard Beary, and I'm the president of the International Association of Chiefs of Police, commonly referred to as the IACP, and I've been a cop for over 37 years. Due to the hard work and dedication of the law enforcement profession, many communities throughout this nation have witnessed a remarkable decline in the rate of crime. America in 2015 is a far safer place than America in 1985. In fact, violent crime in the United States is at its lowest level since 1978. Now, we know that in order to be truly effective, police agencies cannot operate alone. We must have the active support and assistance of our communities. Unfortunately, resource shortages have made consistent, sustained community policing efforts difficult or impossible in many agencies. Police departments continue to take on more responsibilities with less manpower and funding. We're not just responding to crime, violence, and disruption, but also to homeland security concerns, cybercrime, human trafficking, and an exponential increase of non-criminal crisis calls like responding to mental health issues and drug overdoses. These responsibilities take time and resources away from patrols and community policing duties. The more we are tasked with, the harder it is to enhance and sustain strong community police relations. Therefore, it is incumbent upon all of us to work together to identify solutions and approaches that can be implemented not just by the law enforcement community, but by the criminal justice system and the nation as a whole. To that end, the IACP has taken action, including holding a national policy summit on community police relations. Representatives from the NAACP, the ACLU, the Leadership of Conference on Civil Rights, Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights, as well as various representatives of local civil rights community groups, joined us at the IACP to sit down and look at how together we can begin to mold a culture of trust and inclusion and improve relations. I am pleased to announce that the IACP is releasing a report, the copy of that summit report today, and it will be available, and I do have some extra copies. I hope that you will use it as a blueprint. I think there's been a great deal of work towards what I've heard so far today. Now, there are three overarching conceptual elements of strong community police relations that were defined during that summit, and that is communication, partnership, and trust. Now, unfortunately, my allotted time will not permit me to go into all those identified strategies, but you have the report, and I hope you will use it. We know that this presidential task force was assembled to help find a solution to building sustainable community police relations, but the movement forward cannot stop there. This is not just a community policing issue. That is why, for more than 20 years, the IACP has called for a national policy commission on the entire criminal justice system so we can make across-the-board improvements. And I've heard loud and clear all the previous presenters. My only question is, where you been? We've been calling for it for a long time. Now, to be successful in your mission as panel members, you need truth and facts, not myths, lies, and innuendo. So let's start with the transparency. The truth is, the vast majority of contact law enforcement has with citizens is nonviolent and non-controversial. To put things into perspective, the average number of arrests per year are about 12.5 million, which equates to over 34,000 a day, and these are arrests ranging from abuse of children to serial killers. Of the millions of arrests made each year, this doesn't include citizen contacts, these are arrests, fatal encounters with law enforcement in arrest situations occur at a rate far below 0.0005%. Now, while any death or injury is, of course, very regrettable, these incidents are rare, especially when you consider that many of the individuals arrested are under the influence of drugs and alcohol, have anger management issues, suffer from mental illness, or simply choose to be combative. At the same time, we must remember that the threats faced by police are real. Each year, there are more than 50,000 assaults on law enforcement officers, which result in more than 14,000 officers being injured. This past year, 126 officers were killed in the line of duty, including 59 that were murdered by gunfire or assault. This is higher than U.S. combat casualties in Afghanistan. This simply cannot be tolerated. The current smear campaigns aimed at law enforcement are unnecessarily placing our officers' lives in jeopardy while they perform the already dangerous task of reducing crime and violence in our communities. I grew up in high school in the 70s. The current public climate is reminiscent of the 1970s as our troops were withdrawing from Vietnam. The brave men and women who served honorably were villainized for wearing the uniform of this country and upholding the oath that they took. The treatment of our veterans then was wrong, just like the current treatment of our brave law enforcement officers is wrong now. I encourage you to truly examine the facts, the risk, and the challenges of policing in an armed society. We are like none other in the world. Please use your collective wisdom, expertise, and influence to help us make this country safer. Thank you for convening this session. I look forward to answering questions. Most importantly, thanks for taking this forward. Don't let it stop here. We need to look at the entire criminal justice system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Beary.